entirely sure how to describe episode 7 of the Nancy Drew TV show. It feels like it was 2 or 3 episodes pushed together into one episode, which is great. We got a lot of storyline and a lot of new characters. I noticed at least 5 different sets which were brand new that we haven't seen before, so the set designers must have been working overtime in this episode. But also you have the downside where, because a lot of stuff is happening all at once, some things aren't as fleshed out as you might like. I feel this was the case with Ace. You know, Ace's storyline is he's still working for Chief McGinnis, so he makes a couple of cagey phone calls to Chief McGinnis, and then Ace's girlfriend plasters a bunch of posters all over town that say, "Chief McGinnis is incompetent! My sister was murdered!" And Chief McGinnis starts calling Ace more frequently because of this. He's like, is your girlfriend the murderer? And Ace says, "That ain't it, Chief." Okay, no, he doesn't say that, but it would have been hilarious if he did. So Ace starts to suspect his girlfriend is the murderer, and then he and his girlfriend do naughty things together, and they get into a car crash. Yeah, so it looks like Ace might be dead. That's dangerous. Oh, and Nancy figures out that Ace is secretly informing Chief McGinnis because Chief McGinnis passes on some private information that he only could have learned through Ace. So that Ace stuff that I've just been talking about for about 2 minutes now, that was about 3 scenes, maybe 4. I feel like that could have been half the episode. I don't think we've had an Ace episode. We've had a Bess episode. We've had a George episode. We've had Nancy episodes, obviously. We've had a few Nick episodes, I think. No Ace episodes so far. So I feel like if the Ace stuff had been expanded, it would have been just fine for me. Because I like Ace. I think he's an interesting character. And it could have been really interesting to see him suspect that his girlfriend is a murderer. Although we've kind of seen that before with Nancy worrying that her boyfriend Nick is a murderer. So there's Nancy-Nick drama, which I also feel could have been expanded. Let's see. Nick was kind of mad at her, just festering wounds from the previous episode. And then he points out that her father got a huge payoff from the Hudson family 2 days after Lucy Sable died. So it's starting to look like Carson Drew murdered Lucy Sable. Yeah, they paid him out of like a secret bank account too. So that's not a good sign. And Nancy's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Then Nancy and Nick go to a library or something in order to find pictures of Lucy Sable, I believe. Pictures from the old night. And things are a little tense. He's like, we could talk about anything, right? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, we could talk about your dad being a murderer. And she's like, I don't want to talk. Yeah, we could talk about anything, sure. And then they get distracted by ghosts. Yeah, it's another ghost episode. We're sort of combining the idea of someone being possessed by a ghost and doing a seance with the ghost. So we've combined the ideas from 2 previous episodes. Yeah, I'm not so sure I like the idea of Nancy trying to contact a ghost, simply because we've seen Nancy deal with ghosts twice before, but also it feels like Nancy's being a lazy detective. I'm not going to investigate the case and solve the mystery. I'm going to ask the ghost who the killer is. What they need to do in order to perform the seance is they use the gold coins. Apparently the gold coins... Oh, that's another source of tension, is that Nancy doesn't want to give the coins to Nick, so Nick can get them to the FBI. Nancy wants to use the coins in order to perform this seance, so they can call the creatures on the other side. The creatures who were never alive. And it was actually kind of a cool seance. I think I liked it better than the seance from the first episode. I actually did like it. So there was a dragon head. Its eyes glowed green when it wanted to say yes, and its eyes glowed red. The mouth glowed red when it said no. And so they were able to ask it a few questions, like, are you Lucy Sable? Yes. Did Celia Owen kill you? No. Did the Hudsons kill you? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Oh, great, it's broken. It broke after 3 questions. Darn! And Nancy really wants to ask, hey, is my dad a murderer? But then she hesitates and doesn't. And as a result, the coins are melted. The coins are melted, and Nick is very angry now, and he breaks up with Nancy. Yep. He's like, I'm not sure I can trust you anymore, Nancy. And she's like, please don't do this. And he's all, no, I'm doing this. Oh, man. Yeah, it was kind of dramatic. I don't know. That feels like something that could have been expanded into its own episode, too. So I feel like if the Ace and the Nancy-Nick breakup stuff had been just the entire episode, just that would have been great. That would have been just fine for me, but we had a couple of other storylines. We also went into Lucy Sable a bit more. So the scientist figured out that she was poisoned. Hooray! But the scientist's evidence was also robbed. Oh man, so that's not good. So he's got proof, but kind of doesn't have proof at the same time. So Nancy needs to find something that Lucy Sable touched the night she died in order to perform the seance. So she goes through town and investigates more people that are involved in Lucy Sable's life. Like the runner-up for the Sea Queen ceremony, and they find video footage of the Sea Queen ceremony of Lucy being crowned the Sea Queen. And you know what? For the first time, I think it was mentioned that Lucy Sable died. She was hit by a car and stabbed. That was mentioned in like the first minute or so. I thought she was pushed off a cliff because we've seen the scene of her falling off the cliff in basically every episode. So that was totally new information to me. So, they met the old Sea Queen who lied about what happened, so she's a suspect. And Owen's mother is a suspect, but Nancy clears her. Celia Owen, she is cleared by the fact that she was out of the country at the time Lucy Sable died. It was actually really nice seeing the video footage of Lucy Sable, because we've only seen her as a scary ghost. It's nice seeing her as a normal person. And they meet her half-brother, who happens to be Nick's boss, so another new character. I actually really liked it. He was really sad and depressed. That just makes me more motivated to solve the mystery. I feel like that's really good. And then the other storyline was George's mom getting super drunk and trying to get arrested, but that didn't work. And so Nancy visited the police station twice, and that's when Chief McGinnis calls her, and he's like, "Hey, come here, Nancy. I think you and I, we should work together to solve the case." And she's all, "Really?" And he's all, "Yeah." I'm joking. She seems very suspicious of Chief McGinnis wanting her to solve the case. And, that, he sort of accidentally revealed the information. That lets her know, Ace was spying on the... Ace is Chief McGinnis' contact. She confronts Ace about that. No, the spying thing I'm thinking of is Nancy realizes her father was spying on her when she goes home and they have a family dinner. She goes home and sees something pops up when her phone is next to Dad's, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm on the same family plan as Dad's." Yeah, Nancy moved out of the house, said she would never see her father again, but she still has his cell phone, the cell phone that he got her. So she worries that he was spying on her conversation with the scientist earlier, and he's the one who robbed this scientist, because he's the murderer. So they start family dinner, and Nancy's like, "Hey, Dad, did you kill Lucy Sable?" And he's all... And that was how the episode ended. So I feel like this was an okay episode. I didn't like it that much. I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10 if I was reading a book, but that's not fair, because it's sort of like a chapter in this super mystery book, say like chapter 6 or 7, where you're about like a third of a way through the story, and that's sort of where we are in the in terms of the episodes, right? Episode 7 of 22, that's about a third of the way through. So there's in the chapter of the book, guess what? They throw a bunch of new characters at you, new ideas, and this is not the payoff, right? Our payoff is when we get to see more later on when these characters are developed. We learn, oh, here's how Lucy Sable's brother ties into the storyline, or here's what they're going to do with Laura, or here's what's going to happen with Ace. So I feel like when we know all this new information, when we know how it plays into the greater story, then we'll have a better appreciation of, hey, was this actually a good episode? Was this worthwhile? Did it introduce a lot of stuff? Or was it just kind of fluff until Ace dies? Next episode showed... The preview for the next episode, Nancy's like, we've got to contact Ace's ghost, so I really think Ace is dead. But I'm like, oh my gosh, so this is going to be the 4th episode where we're trying to contact the ghost? Nancy, let it go! Solve the mystery yourself! You know, stop making the ghost solve the mystery for you. Okay. So, I mean, that was the episode. I'm glad they had a lot going on. I feel like the pacing could have been better. I would have preferred, like, as I said multiple times, I feel like it would have been better if we stretched out the Nancy stuff and the Ace stuff into its own episode, save the other stuff for the next episode, or maybe just give us longer scenes. Give us, like, 5-minute scenes. I really enjoyed episode 2 or 3, I think it was, where Nancy and her father were just talking to each other for 5 minutes, just the two of them talking, and that was great! That was interesting. You know, it slowed down and took the time to do that. Whereas this episode, because it had so much stuff going on and so many moving parts, we didn't really slow down and have too many conversations. I think the most slowed down conversation was the one at the end with Nick, and that was not much of a conversation. That was mostly him monologuing while Nancy cried at him because she didn't want to break up with him. Anyway, I've been talking for too long. Thanks for watching, everybody.